Hi everyone, welcome to another 15 cards episode. So this time going through some more foily goodness, and we're going to have a look at the cards from the vault via Annihilation. I'll link to the original unboxing I did many years ago when I bought this. So this is number 2 of 3 of these sort of special product they produced, which I think was supposed to retail around what, $34.99, something like that. 15 cards in here, but yeah, the prices on some of these went through the roof. Some sold better than others, and it's funny because some of the ones which didn't sell as well, I imagine if they were released today, would sell a lot better. So you can see we've got the usual foily goodness. So we can have fun on here when I get these on camera, because they are, as with a lot of these foils, so even with these, a very slight bend in them. So it came with this rather nice spin down counter. There you go. Somewhere should be the set symbol. There we go. And then we have sort of 3 groups of 5 cards here. Yes. There we go. See how we do. That's what we'll do. We'll zoom in. Just going to try something. Yeah, I'll do that on the second bit. What I did before, if you remember, is and this sometimes it doesn't respond just so great to this, but I slightly propped this last time and it seemed to help in terms of appreciating that foiledness. Unfortunately, like I said, even when these are flat, they still have that strange effect on them, but we'll just have to live with it. But yeah, interesting foiling on these. Okay, so first up, and I'm not sure, obviously this is the original way these were arranged because they've been opened, but like I said, I'll post the original the video, a link to it in the description. So Wrath of God, 2 and 2 white, destroy all creatures, they can't be regenerated, sorcery speed. And we will zoom in a moment. Child of Alara, so white, blue, black, red, green, 6/6 legendary creature avatar. It has trample, and when Child of Alara dies, destroy all non-land permanents, they can't be regenerated. Decree of Annihilation, 8 and 2 red sorcery. Exile all artifacts, creatures and lands from the battlefield. All cards from all graveyards and all cards from all hands. Cycling 5 and 2 red. So discard this card, draw a card. When you cycle Decree of Annihilation, destroy all lands. Fire Spout, 2 red green hybrid. Sorcery. Fire Spout deals 3 damage to each creature without flying. If red was spent to cast Fire Spout and 3 damage... Let me just see this. Say this again. Fire Spout deals 3 damage to each creature without flying. If red was spent to cast Fire Spout and 3 damage to each creature with flying. If green was spent to cast it, I say do both if red green was spent. And here is Fracturing Gus, which started this off, I think, or there was an interesting tie into a video I recorded last week for a Scryfall Shenanigans. So this is the From the Vaults version, from the Vaults Annihilation version. You know, same artwork, but you know, that nice foil. So 2 green, white, green, white, green, white hybrid. Instant, destroy all artifacts and enchantments. You gain 2 life for each permanent destroyed this way. Living Death. 3 and 2 black, sorcery. Each player exiles all creature cards from his or her graveyard, then sacrifices all creatures he or she controls, then puts all cards he or she exiled this way onto the battlefield. Martial Coup, X2 white, put X1/1 white soldier creature tokens onto the battlefield. If X is 5 or more, destroy all other creatures. We have Armageddon. 3 and a white sorcery, destroy all lands. A Burning of Zine, not sure how you say that. 4, 2 red sorcery. You destroy 4 lands you control, then target opponent destroys 4 lands he or she controls. Then Burning Zine deals 4 damage to each creature. We have Cataclysm in here. 2 and 2 white sorcery. Each player chooses from among the permanents he or she controls an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a land, then sacrifices the rest. Virtue's Ruin, 2 and a white, destroy all white creatures. Upheaval, 4 and 2 blue, sorcery, return all permanents to their owner's hands. Terminus, which is a miracle card, so 4 and 2 white, has this rather fancy border. Not sure if it's the first time they sort of had a slightly different inner border to signify a certain effect. So with this Terminus, 4 and 2 white sorcery, put all creatures on the bottom of their owner's library, and then there's a miracle cost for single white. You may cast this card for its miracle cost when you draw it, if it's the first card you draw this turn. Then we've got Rolling Earthquake, which is an X and red spell, sorcery. Rolling Earthquake deals X damage to each creature without horsemanship and each player. That's a bit of an old school card. And then we have this, which is Smokestack. 4 to cast artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a soot counter on the Smokestack. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a permanent for each soot counter on the Smokestack. So let us zoom in and see what we actually can see. As always, we may have a bit of a problem here because just of the foils interacting with the light, but that's in some ways part of the fun. Okay, let me just check to see. Yeah, okay. So there's our Wrath of God. That's actually artwork on that's popping quite nicely. So this is a relatively new style of artwork for anybody that knows the more sort of, I don't know if you call it traditional, but the old school one. So let me just, how's that? I'm sort of holding these in 2 hands to do this, so it's quite going to be obviously difficult for me to use the pointer to point out certain things. So I suppose with this sort of video, at least we're just looking at the sort of totality in some ways, and I'll just try and, if there's anything I can point out. Now this is interesting with the Child of Alara foil. It's actually quite difficult to see things. I think I might have one of these in its sort of unfoil version, not sure, but you can see, yeah, it doesn't, oh there we go. It's funny with this, the cards feel like, and also that you can see it has almost like a varnished effect to them. There we go, Decree of Annihilation. If I do that, and then maybe that. Yeah, okay. We can see some characters there on a bridge and a number of protagonists. Looks like shaking their fists. Cursing their lack of permanence. Oh, fire spout. This could potentially be really nice. Yeah, okay. Right, there's a figure right in the middle there. Okay. Now I see it. The eagles. Here's Fracturing Gust, which I did a Scryfall Shenanigans episode on. It is interesting with this sort of from the vault foil is they don't pop in quite the same way as regular foils pop. It'd be interesting at some point if I remember. I should sort of do a compare and contrast, I think, where I sort of look at the foiling on the From the Vault versus the foiling on something like the premium decks versus sort of, other forms of foiling. Maybe I'll do that. To put that in my shooting schedule to do as a special video. Oh, that's pretty cool. Now with some of these cards, they do have the original artworks. Some are new artwork as well. I couldn't tell you which ones for some of them. That's Marshall Coup. It's like with these, I find it's really the sort of overall effect of the foiling that pulls you in, rather than necessarily in any particular popping of the cards. Although, I don't know, with some of them, and again, I don't know if any of these new artworks have ever been printed like non-foiled. Whether this was the only time they appeared in this form, if they were new artwork. But I'm trying to work out with some of these whether it adds any depth to the artwork. Sometimes I think I pointed this out before, is some cards, once you get them on camera, they have a real nice depth to them, and then when they're foiled, things pop in certain ways, for good or bad. But with this sort of foiling, the effects to me is quite different. And I'm wondering in some instances where it just, when you get beyond the sort of the lens flare type effect, which is what it reminds me of a little bit, you do notice that there's something else there, like there's more depth. I mean, Cataclysm, yeah, it'd be interesting to see this unfoiled. And also with cards like this, I generally find if you've got sort of clouds or ray or like bolts of something or whatever this is supposed to be, like some sort of light beam, it is quite nice the sort of interactions you can get. Oh, Virtue's Ruin. With this one, it always looks very odd to me. I can never tell whether that particular character is leaning back quite extremely or is actually on the floor. So slightly strange perspective. The whatever that is, the sort of old house in the background, seems to be popping quite nicely actually. Can you see there? If I hold it like that. Good old upheaval. Yeah, look at that. It's pretty nice. I I imagine look really nice in regular foiling actually. Oh, terminus. Okay, what are we going to see here? Because this is quite difficult. I don't know, yeah. In some ways this is actually, unless you hold it at the right angle, the foiling is actually obscuring the artwork a little bit. There we go. I think with the non-foil version it's a bit easier to see what's going on. I might have a non-foil version of Terminus, I can't remember. I mean, over time you'll get to see a lot of some of these cards if they are available in non-foil, because I'll probably feature them in some future 15 card episode when I go through certain sets. And you know, as I've said, with now when I'm going through this 15 card episode and I'm looking at sort of pre-open boosters, if there is a particular set you want to fast forward to for you, let me know in the comments section, because I've got no problem doing that. I'm not necessarily running through these in chronological order. At the moment I should be running doing some more Zendikar era stuff. I'm not sure with some of these from the vaults. I think the legendary one, isn't it the case that some of the cards had not been reprinted since those special sets? I'm trying to think what they were called. They were a beginner set, weren't they? And there were 3 of them, 3 sets. And one of them had legendaries in it. And the name of the set is gone from my mind. So here we have Smokestack. Cool. Well, there you have it. So that was from the Vaults Annihilation. Now, one final thing, and I'll try and do it better this week than I did last week. Let me just clear some of this out the way. Okay, so let's move our friend the cheese board out the way. Move this forward a little bit. Okay, so as I pointed out, and I really hadn't intended on necessarily folding these out, but it did come with, when I realised after last week, you know, the thing that it came with was pretty nice, like the insert. So let's just see if we can get a better, so you can see there, it's one of the cards represented. And then on the back, what I find really nice with this, and in some ways one of the reasons why I used to really like the dual decks, is you get this sort of historical perspective. So, you know, you go through, so it gives you the first time the card was printed. So Armageddon limited edition alpha, then we got Burning of Zion, Portal 3 Kingdoms, that's what I was trying to think of. Portal 3 Kingdoms, Cataclysm, Exodus, Conflux, it was Child of Alara, Decree of Annihilation. Maybe I'll do it this way, actually, might be a bit easier. There we go. Again, this is shining up rather nicely. Decree of Annihilation, Scourge, Fire Spout was from Shadowmoor, Fracturing Gust was from Shadowmoor, Smokestack was from Urza Saga, Terminus it's Avacyn Restored, Upheaval from Odyssey. So a lot of these cards are quite old. Living Death, where was that from? That was Tempest, yeah, originally. Martial Coup, Conflux, Rolling Earthquake, another Portal 3 Kingdoms. Upheaval, we mentioned. Virtue's Ruin was from Portal, and Wrath of God from Limited Edition. So quite interesting to see Portal cards. So there was there's 3 Portal sets that came out, and no doubt when we get to the Legends one, I think there's a legendary, at least one legendary from there that's from Portal 3 Kingdoms. So thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in a future video.